We open inside a grim and sterile experimental site. This is Yi Shui-han, a powerless boy chained and defiant. His captors casually debate whether he should live or die, but his only thought is of the sister he failed to protect. The villain moves in, promising to make his end agonizing. Suddenly, a new voice cuts through the cold laboratory air. One of the tormentors is struck down by an unseen force. The other is instantly obliterated by a powerful energy blast. Their savior appears, a figure of calm and deadly grace. She is Weifeng Yu, and she has come to free the captives. With his chains broken, the other prisoners flee in a panic. Her gentle voice cuts through his shock and pain. He grabs her, desperately asking about his sister in Zone C. But for Yi Shui-han, waiting is not an option. He turns his back on freedom, heading deeper into the facility. He pushes through the pain, trying to remember the way. Meanwhile, the B team finally makes an appearance. He finds her, Yi Chu, the sister Yi Shui-han is fighting for. With unsettling red eyes, he promises to take her to her brother. She's filled with pure joy, believing she's finally safe. A violent flash of memory rips through his mind. The moment he was torn away from his sister, her desperate cries for help still echo in his ears. Yi Shui-han jolts awake, her name on his lips. But the nightmare isn't over. He's already been captured. He and Yi Chu are thrown to the floor like discarded toys. Helplessness quickly turns to pure, unadulterated rage. A new figure emerges, the architect of their suffering. Meet Chris, a zombie summoner with a flair for the dramatic. He pins Yi Chu down, mocking her brother's weakness. Yi Shui-han desperately begs Chris to spare his sister. But the villain is only amused by his futile defiance. He admits the boy is half right, lifting Yi Chu effortlessly. Her voice is a faint whisper, calling out for her brother. A raw scream of denial rips from Yi Shui-han's throat. Declaring her useless, Chris unleashes a devastating blast. His mind shatters, the world turning a bloody red. An anguished roar erupts, her name his only thought. Fueled by nothing but vengeance, he vows to kill him. Chris dismisses the threat with a single word and a snap. At his command, a bandaged monstrosity seizes Yi Shui-han. He screams that they are human, warning of star beasts to come. Chris simply laughs, mocking the boy's empty threats. He binds our hero, ready to reveal his precious pet. And from a containment cell, a true monster emerges. Yi Shui-han's blood runs cold. It's an S-ranked star beast. His own terror is reflected in the creature's crystalline eye. A subordinate warns Chris that the Star League is closing in. Chris orders his zombie to kill the beast and claim its starbone. But the star beast effortlessly bisects its would-be executioner. The S-ranked star beast lets out a furious guttural roar. Yi Shui-han can only watch, his face a mask of pure fury. With a surge of raw power, the creature shatters its restraints. It contemptuously tosses aside the remains of Chris's zombie. Now completely unbound, the beast unleashes its full might. But its rage is indiscriminate, catching Yi Shui-han in its path. Our boy is sent flying, the impact rattling him to the core. The beast pauses, its glowing eyes fixed on its own chest. Chris panics, realizing his precious starbone is at risk. In a shocking move, the beast drives its claw into its own heart. As his life fades, Yi Shui-han questions if this is the end. He laments a life of weakness, having accomplished nothing. With his last breath, he vows to be strong if given another chance. But instead of death, he finds himself in a familiar bed. He jolts awake from the nightmare, confused and terrified. A woman enters his room, and he realizes he's somehow home. His mother is just relieved that his fever has finally broken. He stares in disbelief, asking if she's really alive. His mother, understandably, has no idea what he's talking about. Tears well in his eyes as a new reality begins to sink in. He clings to his mother, desperately trying to explain the horrific dream. But alone in the bathroom, the nightmare feels far too real. A phantom pain in his chest leads to a shocking discovery. He finds a scar exactly where the star beast's claw pierced him. This is no dream, he's been reborn all thanks to the starbone. Watching the news, he confirms he's traveled 2 years into the past. A broadcast introduces the famed Commander Li Bai of the Star Alliance. Yi Shui-han is stunned. In his timeline, this man was already dead. A sudden panic grips him as he frantically asks about his sister. His mother, startled, explains she's just out with friends at an escape room. He vows to seize the second chance to find and protect Yi Chu. Without a second thought, he bolts out the door to find her. This time, he swears, things are going to be different. He arrives at the terror escape room where she's supposed to be. Inside, a terrifying monster roars at a group of students. Among them is Yi Chu, huddled with her friends in pure terror. But a brave young man steps forward, shielding Yi Chu from the beast. Even in mortal danger, there's still time for high school gossip. The creature, unimpressed by their conversation, lunges forward to attack. But its attack is stopped cold by an unseen hand. It's Yi Shui-han, asking the trembling creature if it's scaring his sister. He lifts the monster with one hand, stunning the other students with his strength. Yichu cries out in relief as her brother promises to take her home, but her friends plead with her to stay for the final level of the game. He reluctantly agrees to 20 more minutes, much to his sister's delight. The group's self-appointed leader guides them toward the final challenge. The elevator doors open to a dark and ominous basement level. Before them stands a massive, imposing door, the final obstacle. The friend confidently explains they just need to push it open, which is never a good sign. But when he tries, the heavy door doesn't even budge an inch. Yi Shui-han can't resist mocking the other boy's failed attempt. The boy insists it's a trick, but Yi Shui-han steps forward to try. A faint blue energy crackles as he places his hands on the door. He focuses his power, determined to force the door open. A flicker of surprise crosses his face. This is no ordinary door. The doors part to reveal a shimmering, terrifying portal. He stares in horror, recognizing it as a deadly space rift. His friends, meanwhile, think it's the coolest prop they've ever seen. He screams at them to stay back, warning that the rift is real. But as he lunges forward, an arm firmly holds him back. The boy who shielded Yichu urges her to escape and report the rift. But their only way out, the elevator, isn't responding to their calls. A new voice cuts in, telling the panicked students to calm down. He introduces himself as the class president, assuring them the rift is perfectly safe. Yi Shui-han furiously refutes him, explaining the true danger of a space rift. He warns them that this particular rift is mature and could open at any second. The president scoffs, pointing to a thin film as proof that it's harmless. Convinced, the other boy touches the portal, because poking cosmic horrors is always a great idea. He then turns to mock Yichu for being scared, trying to impress her. Yi Shui-han can only sigh, saying he can't stop someone determined to get themselves killed. The other students are thrilled, treating the deadly rift like a tourist attraction. One girl even pulls out her phone for a selfie with the portal. They try to pull Yichu in for a live stream, hoping to gain followers. As Yichu starts to join them, her brother screams for her to stop. But the other students just cheer, completely ignoring his warning. The portal flares and a monstrous wolf-like creature begins to emerge. A three-eyed beast fully materializes, crackling with otherworldly energy. The boy who mocked Yichu's fear is now screaming in absolute terror. It's not alone. A pack of classy star beasts pours from the rift. The students' excitement turns to horror as the beasts lunge to attack. In a moment of pure cowardice, one boy shoves a girl forward as a sacrifice. But just as its jaws are about to close, something jams them wide open. Of all things, it's a selfie stick, wedged deep in the monster's throat. Yi Shui-han pulls his sister to safety, asking if she's been hurt. The beast shatters the flimsy metal, its eyes burning with renewed rage. He steels himself, knowing their only goal now is to somehow survive. The other students panic, desperately trying to flee into the broken elevator. But Yi Shui-han knows there's no escape through the crowded staircase. Their only exit is now blocked by another hungry-looking star beast. As the beasts tear through the crowd, Yi Shui-han can only watch in fury. Amid the chaos, he pulls Yichu toward the emergency exit. But the three-eyed beast is already hot on their trail. He finds a temporary hiding spot, assuring her the beasts are dumb. Yichu is terrified, but he knows running is a death sentence. He shoves them both into a cramped, dark alcove. The heavy stone door slides shut, sealing them in darkness. Thinking fast, he asks his sister for her perfume, because nothing says stealth like a cloud of cheap perfume. He explains it's to mask their scent from the creatures outside. And just in time, as the star beast begins sniffing at their door. Outside, the three-eyed beast sniffs at the door's edge. He holds his breath, hoping the perfume trick actually worked. Yichu is paralyzed by the sounds of the slaughter outside. The sounds confirm her worst fears. The beasts are feasting. She begins to cry, realizing her classmates are all gone. He covers her eyes, telling her to hold on just a bit longer. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of light erupts from the hallway. The star beasts are instantly incinerated in a fiery blast. Well, that's one way to clear a room. A new voice cuts through the silence, complaining about a promotion. Another figure appears, and Yi Shui-han recognizes the name, the Stargazers. From his hiding spot, Yi Shui-han wonders why a terrorist group is here. The leader of the mercenary group, Harvest Sight, questions their choice of venue. His counterpart, a pointy-eared member of the Stargazers, seems unconcerned. He explains they chose this rift to avoid their rivals, the Rejects. The Stargazer gets down to business, asking about the high-level Starbeast cores. In response, the mercenaries reveal a box containing a glowing blue core. He boasts that they have 4 advanced cores, each with a unique power. Yi Shui-han is stunned. He's never heard of advanced cores before. But the deal is cut short as the Stargazer senses something is amiss. The mercenary leader orders a search, knowing a witness would be disastrous. The mercenary leader is furious, ordering his men to tear the place apart. Inside their hiding spot, Yi Shui-han and his sister can only listen in terror. One of the goons approaches the one place they haven't checked yet. With a sadistic grin, he throws open the lid, ready for a surprise. And a surprise he gets in the form of a fist right to the jaw. But Yi Shui-han quickly realizes he's still badly outnumbered. With his cover blown, our boy launches himself directly into the fray. He moves with impossible speed, intercepting the next attacker with ease. A quick flip sends the mercenary crashing hard against the stone floor. His only thought is to keep them away from the coffin and protect his sister. He disarms the downed mercenary, his movements cold and efficient. Without hesitation, he turns the man's own weapon against his comrade. But the mercenary leader moves to crush him underfoot with a powerful stomp. He roars a challenge, drawing all their attention onto himself. The leader is shocked to find another survivor amidst the carnage. The Stargazer orders two of his subordinates to give chase and uncover his identity. But his pursuers are already closing in, demanding he halt. The white-haired swordsman unleashes a devastating energy slash. He mocks Yi Shui-han's powerlessness, but our boy is stunned by his speed. A single brutal kick sends Yi Shui-han plummeting through the floor. He crashes to the floor below, coughing up blood from the brutal impact. His pursuers loom over him, demanding to know which organization he works for. But Yi Shui-han puts on a masterful performance of a terrified civilian. In a flash, he grabs a fire extinguisher and makes a desperate break for it. The Stargazers realize they've been played, ordering him captured alive for interrogation. A confident smirk crosses his face. This was all part of the plan. Suddenly, a wall of fire erupts, cutting off their pursuit completely. The fire extinguishers detonate in a massive, blinding explosion, because of course they do. The blast takes out the swordsman, leaving his partner furious and vowing revenge. But Yi Shui-han has already armed himself with his fallen enemy's sword. He explains the pipes weren't an obstacle, but a hiding place for his trap. The Stargazer rages, but Yi Shui-han calls him the real trash. Enraged, the lone pursuer lunges forward for the kill, but Yi Shui-han mocks his low power, enjoying his enemy's frustration. He asks how it would feel to be killed by a powerless boy, and with a single decisive slash, he ends the fight. He stands over the body, the immediate threat now neutralized. But he knows this isn't over. A deal this big has more than two guards. He realizes he needs to move and prepare for the next wave. Suddenly, a familiar voice cuts through the smoke. It's his sister. The Stargazer leader emerges, holding Yi Chu and mocking our hero's failed plan. He reveals he found her, shattering Yi Shui-han's last hope. A furious roar erupts as Yi Shui-han charges, demanding they let his sister go. But his attack is effortlessly blocked by a crackling energy shield. The villain calls him too slow, blasting him backward with ease. Yi Shui-han crashes to the ground, realizing he can't even get close. The Stargazer prepares to end it, declaring the boy will die here. Yi Chu can only whisper her brother's name, her eyes filled with tears. He reaches for her, promising he won't leave her to face this alone. The villain finds their human drama quite moving as he lifts her by the throat. He catches his sister, vowing he will never leave her side again. He screams in anguish, questioning why he was reborn just to fail again. The Stargazer leader mocks him, offering to send him to join her. But before he can act, a brilliant golden light fills the room. The Stargazer's men disintegrate into dust before his very eyes. A new voice rings out, warning the Stargazers to stand down. The Stargazers panic, deciding to abandon their loot and run for the hills. Yi Shui-han realizes his intel from the future was correct after all. A powerful warrior emerges from the light, confirming the Stargazer's presence. She introduces herself as a soldier of the rejects, promising to protect them. He recognizes his savior, realizing she has saved him once again. The Stargazer leader is furious, screaming at the ants who dared to attack him. He lunges forward to kill her, prompting a desperate warning from Yi Shui-han. But his rescuer is unfazed, calmly identifying his power as light. She compliments his potential, noting he could become a major threat. Unfortunately for him, his potential won't be realized today. A blade of pure golden energy materializes in her hand. In a single, blinding flash, the Stargazer is cut down. She scoffs at his C-rank power, revealing her own B-rank status. With the fight over, a team doctor rushes in to tend to the wounded. He ignores his own wounds, begging the doctor to save his sister. The doctor confirms the fatal wound was caused by light powers. Yi Shui-han is shattered, unable to comprehend this new failure. Her subordinate hands over the confiscated bag of Starbeast cores. He desperately pleads for a core, hoping it can save her life. But Wei Fengyu refuses, explaining the terrible risk involved. She points to a mutated corpse as proof of the horrific cost. She sympathizes, but insists this isn't a fate he'd want for her. But a sudden report of a cornered enemy creates a distraction. And in that moment, Yi Shui-han seizes his only chance. He snatches the bag of cores, ignoring their furious cries. With a desperate cry, he tosses a glowing core toward his sister. The rejects can only watch, stunned by his reckless move. The core hovers over her chest, its energy flowing into her body. He watches with relief as his sister's body begins to heal. The doctor confirms the fatal wound is gone. She's alive. Her soldiers are baffled, wondering how they got outplayed by a kid. Tears of joy stream down his face. His gamble paid off. Wei Fengyu notes how rare this is, ordering the doctor to stay behind. He explains their situation, convincing her to let them join her team. A soldier reports that the cornered mercenaries took their own lives. Wei Fengyu interrogates a survivor who defiantly refuses to talk. She's taken aback by his stubborn refusal to cooperate. But Yi Shui-han steps in, claiming her methods are too gentle. He slams the man's head into the wall, taking a more direct approach. Grabbing him by the hair, our boy shows a shockingly brutal side. He threatens to peel the man's face off if he doesn't cooperate. The other soldiers can only watch, stunned by his sudden cruelty. Wei Fengyu decides to let him handle it, taking a team to close the rift. She and her subordinates prepare to seal the dangerous portal for good. Her subordinate panics, realizing their energy isn't closing the rift. Wei Fengyu is perplexed. A rift this stable is highly unusual. Meanwhile, Yi Shui-han insists the mercenary is hiding something important. One of the soldiers pries the man's jaw open to investigate. He pulls out a slimy bag, revealing a hidden star beast core. The soldier asks where to wash the disgusting thing off. Because priorities. But Yi Shui-han's attention is drawn to a peculiar shadow on the wall. A lizard-like star beast lunges from the ceiling, catching them by surprise. But a single well-aimed shot stops the creature in its tracks. Wei Fengyu arrives, realizing the beast was drawn to the cores. The soldier screams for everyone to run as the beast lunges forward. But Wei Fengyu intercepts it, her blade deflecting the creature's claws. The creature vanishes from sight, using a powerful stealth ability. Yi Shui-han realizes this is no ordinary beast. It's far too strong. The mercenary prisoner sees his chance and makes a break for it. Bad move. The beast strikes him down, sending the precious bag of cores flying. It ignores the man, its eyes fixed solely on the fallen prize. One of the soldiers lunges for the bag, refusing to let the beast claim it. He grabs a fallen sword, ready to defend the cores at all costs, but he's immediately on the defensive, stunned by the creature's raw strength. Wei Fengyu's subordinate opens fire with a golden pistol. She unloads on the beast, demanding it stop its rampage, but the creature simply vanishes into thin air once again. Yi Shui-han knows it's not gone, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. His eyes fall on the dropped core, realizing it's the beast's true target. He reaches for it because touching mysterious glowing objects always ends well. He screams in agony as its raw power surges through his body. The rejects can only watch in horror as he's engulfed in a pillar of blue energy. A strange dark pattern begins to spread across his face. Wei Fengyu recognizes the sign. He's being overwhelmed by the core's chaotic power. The lizard beast lunges, drawn to the overwhelming power. But Yi Shui-han intercepts it with a devastating punch. Wei Fengyu realizes he's losing control and prepares to intervene. He moves with impossible speed, a blur of blue energy. He turns on his allies, his movements wild and uncontrolled. Wei Fengyu can only watch as his fist closes in. But deep inside, Yi Shui-han fights for control against the core's influence. A vision of a powerful star beast appears, giving him the worst pep talk ever. He recognizes the S-ranked beast from his past life, demanding answers. The beast offers a simple, chilling proposition, to borrow his body, but Yi Shui-han refuses to be a puppet, pulling a golden sword from the beast's essence. He accepts the deal, vowing to use this power to destroy all his enemies. Back in reality, Wei Fengyu prepares to strike, responsible for her team's lives. But her energy scythe shatters against his arm, stunning her completely. A dark mask forms on his face as he warns her of a threat from behind. The camouflaged lizard beast lunges, aiming for a fatal blow, but a powerful kick sends the creature flying backward. He appears behind her, telling her not to move. A very questionable hero pose. She's understandably flustered by his sudden and very close proximity. He shoves her to safety, his body overflowing with the core's immense power. He leaps into action, sword drawn, ready to face the beast. He searches his memory, trying to recall how to wield this new power, He channels the energy into the blade, unleashing a devastating golden slash. The lizard beast is completely obliterated by the overwhelming power. As the dark markings fade, he declares that he finally feels better. But the power surge was too much, and he collapses into Wei Fengyu's arms. A classic hero move. She assures her team he's stable, amazed by his immense potential. Sometime later, they arrive back at the reject Starlink base. Wei Fengyu watches over him, puzzled by his feverish sleep-talking. Even in his sleep, he mutters a chilling vow against all his enemies. Yi Shuihan jolts awake to find Wei Fengyu a little too close for comfort. He pushes her away, asking where he is as she explains his pained sleep-talking. She congratulates him on surviving the core and awakening his own psychic powers. But his only concern is for his sister, grabbing Wei Fengyu for answers. She explains Yi Chu is safe but was moved to a Star Alliance hospital for her injuries. Their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of a man in a green uniform. He's introduced as Vice Captain Yu Wenrui, here to see the newly awakened psychic. Wei Fengyu realizes her phone was broken during the battle, explaining her silence. She quickly excuses herself to go contact their captain, leaving the two men alone. The vice captain introduces himself, but Yi Shuihan only has one question on his mind. The vice captain offers a deal, a quick power test, then a reunion with his sister. He leads our boy to a secluded, soundproof room. Nothing suspicious about that at all. But the friendly facade drops. He knows about the core and demands it back. Yi Shuihan plays dumb, claiming he has no idea what the man is talking about. The vice captain's patience runs out, promising to beat the truth out of him. He unleashes his power, sending thorny vines lashing out at our hero. But Yi Shuihan shatters the attack with a single powerful punch. The vice captain is relentless, ensnaring the boy's leg in a thorny trap. He's violently slammed against the wall, the impact echoing through the room. Pinned down, Yi Shuihan questions if this brutal interrogation is even legal. Hanging upside down, Yi Shuihan calls out the vice captain's greed. He offers to reveal the core's location, luring his captor closer. The vice captain takes the bait, demanding to know the secret. But instead of an answer, he gets a flash of cold steel. Yi Shuihan cuts himself free, landing gracefully on his feet. He mockingly asks how the vice captain dodged his little surprise. The furious officer now accuses him of being a Stargazer spy. Yi Shuihan makes a break for it, using the severed vine as a whip. Because why not? The vice captain is stunned, recognizing his target's advanced footwork. He unleashes a new wave of attacks, determined to stop the boy's escape. But just in time, Wei Fengyu bursts in, demanding answers from the vice captain. Yi Shuihan's eyes widen in terror as he sees the vines lashing out toward her. He screams for her to get back, realizing she's walked right into the line of fire. In a flash, he lunges forward, sweeping her off her feet and out of harm's way. He holds her tight, noting the vice captain's disregard for his own allies. She seems less than thrilled with the rescue. Yu Wenrui accuses her of failing her mission and protecting a dangerous suspect. She declares Yi Shuihan is under her protection, but he grabs her wrist, pulling rank. With insults traded and lines drawn, the two vice captains prepare to settle this with force. A massive shockwave of energy erupts between them, blasting them both backward. Caught in the crossfire, Yi Shuihan is paralyzed by the overwhelming pressure. A new voice cuts through the tension, ordering them to stop. Both vice captains freeze, stunned by the sudden interruption. Two figures emerge from the light, here to witness the petty squabble. It's the legendary commander Li Bai, flanked by his A-class subordinate. Yi Shuihan is floored. The man who was dead in his timeline is standing right here. The bickering officers snap to attention, asking what brings their commander here. Li Bai explains he was just in the neighborhood before pointing a glowing finger. A single blast of energy sends the corrupt vice captain flying. Well, that's one way to handle HR complaints. The commander's reasoning is simple. He's stronger, so he makes the rules. He casually blows on his fingertip. The dispute now officially settled. The corrupt officer is sent hurtling through the air with a pained cry. Yi Shuihan is stunned by the commander's casual display of power. He realizes the commander's subordinate also vanished in the blink of an eye. The white-haired soldier catches the disgraced officer mid-flight. He offers a very insincere apology for his leader's heavy hand, and then proceeds to humiliate the man further for everyone's amusement. Yi Shuihan realizes this new team is on a whole different level of dangerous. The commander then turns to Wei Fengyu, clearing Yi Shuihan of any wrongdoing. She's taken aback by his sudden declaration, her expression unreadable. But the commander's praise quickly turns into some very unprofessional commentary. Wei Fengyu is absolutely furious at her commander's unprofessionalism. Even his own subordinate casually calls out the commander's lecherous behavior. With the internal dispute settled, the commander's team makes their exit, but their path is immediately blocked by a swarm of eager reporters. He promptly throws Wei Fengyu to the wolves, declaring her the new spokesperson. His subordinate explains this is just the commander's way of dodging questions. Classic. The white-haired soldier offers our boy some water, a moment of calm in the chaos. He extends an invitation to join, but Yi Shui-han is unimpressed by their infighting. He recalls how this organization crumbled in his past life after the commander's death. But the commander returns, using his sister's condition to press the offer once more. Yi Shui-han realizes the commander is using his sister to blackmail him. He launches into a tirade, demanding compensation for a laundry list of damages. Suddenly, he's a legal expert. He declares he'll take the vice captain's core as payment, much to the man's horror. But the commander cuts him off, revealing that his mother has arrived. Overcome with emotion, Yi Shui-han embraces his mother, apologizing for what happened to Yi Chu. He tells her he's joining the League, believing it's the only way to keep them safe. His mother sees the unshakable resolve in his eyes, a look she's never seen before. She tearfully accepts his choice, begging him to protect himself above all else. With a new fire in his eyes, Yi Shui-han vows this life will not end in failure. But the cost of his sister's recovery is steep, 30 cores a month, far more than a vice captain's share. Yi Shui-han knows the regular path won't be enough to save his sister. As he walks, a familiar, unwelcome voice calls out from the street. A rich kid in a convertible pulls over just to mock him for being poor. His passenger introduces him as Long Wei Kai, son of the city's second richest man. Yi Shui-han recognizes the name. He was an old rival from his school days, but Wei Tai absolutely despises being reminded that he's only number 2. He screams at Yi Shui-han for being ignored, but our boy just walks away. As he tries to board a bus, however, the driver stops him for a quick check. His backpack is revealed to be filled with an entire set of gleaming knives. The passengers panic as he tries to explain it's for an internship. Sure it is, buddy. It turns out his mother packed the arsenal, proud of his new job. The bus driver, understandably, refuses to let the walking cutlery drawer on board. And just when his day couldn't get worse, his old school rivals appear. The leader brags about his dad pulling strings to get him a reject's internship. He offers Yi Shui-han a spot, but only as another rich kid's lackey. Our boy refuses, completely unfazed by their petty high school drama. Their conversation is cut short by the arrival of a very expensive-looking car. A familiar white-haired soldier steps out, looking effortlessly cool. The rivals are stunned, realizing this is their official ride from the Star Alliance. Long Wei Sai immediately tries to curry favor, introducing himself to the soldier. But the soldier walks right past the stunned rich kid without a second glance. He introduces himself as the Crow team leader, here to escort the new psychic. The captain silences Yi Shui-han, clearly enjoying the dramatic reveal. The rivals realize their mistake. They just insulted a powerful psychic. They immediately try to suck up, but Yi Shui-han has no time for their games. The captain reveals Yi Shui-han is the new class representative. Because of course he is. Long Wei Kai can only watch in fury as his rival's status skyrockets. The sports car speeds away, leaving the bullies choking on their dust. In the car, the captain admits the whole thing was just a show for his benefit. He playfully teases Yi Shui-han, who is not at all amused by the new nickname. But Long Wei Kai screams from his car, calling the captain a liar. The captain is amused that the rich kid dared to insult his ride. With a wicked grin, he tells Yi Shui-han to hold on tight. A powerful star energy suddenly envelops the captain's body. The car launches forward, a blur of red and blue energy. Yi Shui-han can only scream, completely unprepared for the ride. The captain laughs, but Yi Shui-han sees they're heading for a truck. He expertly swerves at the last second, narrowly avoiding disaster. This guy's driving is a public menace. Yi Shui-han breathes a sigh of relief, his life no longer flashing before his eyes. The captain gets serious, questioning him about the bodies left at the rift. He reflects that killing was easy in his past life, but not for this 18-year-old body. He justifies his actions, explaining it was a matter of life and death. But he quickly turns the interrogation around, having a question of his own. He asks about the consequences of consuming a high-level Star Beast core. The captain explains it's a death sentence. An advanced core means a 100% chance of mutation. Yi Shui-han realizes he can't confess, or he'll be locked away for experimentation. Their ridiculously dangerous joyride finally comes to an end at the station. The captain, Wu Liang, tells him he'll have to make his own way to the base. He leaves him with a chilling warning. The Stargazers are hunting psychics. But Yi Shui-han just smiles, ready for whatever comes next. Wu Liang leaves him with one last piece of advice: steal from the Stargazers. And so begins a long train ride to the newcomer's base. 2 days later, Yi Shui-han tries to freshen up in the train's bathroom. He's already annoyed with his new team, particularly the reckless captain. Suddenly, a panicked voice screams about wanting to go home and get married. Yi Shui-han looks up, startled by the commotion just outside his door. A new face appears: Ying Yu-huan, a narcissistic rich kid having a public meltdown. Star Alliance officers rush through the car, trying to apprehend him. But the boy defiantly blocks their path, declaring his life is his own. He sends the officers flying, refusing to be taken into custody. An officer named Tian Qi unleashes his Class C mud puppet ability, but Ying Yu-huan creates a brilliant distraction by making it rain money. The passengers descend into chaos, giving the boy a perfect opening. A mud puppet latches onto his leg, but he seems more amused than scared. In a flash of movement, he vanishes, leaving the puppet empty-handed. The officers panic, thinking a star beast snatched him from the train. But it was Yi Shui-han who grabbed him, moving with blinding speed. He pulls the rich kid into a secluded room, who immediately folds like a cheap suit. The boy offers up his father's bank details, but Yi Shui-han calls him by a familiar name. The nickname stops him cold. Only one person has ever called him that. Yi Shui-han greets the boy with a wide, knowing smile. Ying Yu-huan is furious at the nickname, but plays along, calling him brother. But the friendly reunion takes a very sharp turn. He slams the boy's head down, demanding to know about his marriage plans. The rich kid frantically explains he's on the run, asking about Yi Shui-han's speed. But his escape is cut short, as the mud puppet finally catches up. The Star Alliance officers corner them, their target now in sight. Elsewhere, a girl in a cat hoodie taunts a captive, calling him useless. Her creepy little doll agrees, firing a blast of energy at the prisoner. The girl unleashes her own power, torturing the boy with iron powder control. She's introduced as Senshu, a B-rank officer of the Stargazers. She orders her forces to hunt down any teams carrying Star Beast cores. Her true goal is revenge, and to use the cores to revive her fallen comrades. Back on the train, Ying Yu-huan continues to resist his forced recruitment. But from the bathroom, Yi Shui-han sees an opportunity to intervene. He slams his fist on the emergency stop button. The train's sprinklers activate, dousing the entire car in water. The mud puppet begins to dissolve, its form melting away. The officer can only watch in shock as his power is neutralized. Yi Shui-han steps out, questioning the officer's aggressive recruitment tactics. Ying Yu-huan is furious, asking why our boy didn't say something sooner. But before Yi Shui-han can explain, the officer attacks with blades of pure energy. He declares it's his duty to bring them in, revealing his barrier control powers. Ying Yu-huan continues his tantrum, insisting he just wants to go home and get married. The officer's patience wears thin, declaring their resistance a criminal offense. Thinking fast, Yi Shui-han rips a panel from the wall to use as a shield. He parries the blow, but his makeshift shield shatters on impact. Our boy realizes he's completely outmatched in terms of equipment. The officer warns him to stand down, threatening punishment for obstructing his duty. But he's done talking, preparing to unleash his mud puppet once again. The mud puppet reforms, ensnaring Yi Shui-han in its slimy grasp. The officer decides to deal with our boy first, ordering his men to attack. But Ying Yu-huan grabs a nearby pipe, refusing to stand by. He declares he won't let them get away with their forced recruitment. But Yi Shui-han's eyes flash with a strange hypnotic power. The officers freeze, their minds suddenly caught in his gaze. Ying Yu-huan summons a massive cannon ready to open fire. Because of course he can. He unleashes a barrage of energy blasts, striking his helpless targets. The officers cry out in pain, completely caught off guard by the attack. Yi Shui-han watches the chaos, his expression cold and unreadable. The officers are blasted back by powerful jets of water. Yi Shui-han is stunned to see Ying Yu-huan wielding a fire hose. The rich kid reveals he's a D-level psychic with a flair for the dramatic. A few moments later, the officers are tied up and begging for their lives. But Ying Yu-huan has a very specific and very gross punishment in mind. He shoves a dirty sock into the officer's mouth to silence him. With the fight over, he suggests they just leave their captives behind. He'll follow Yi Shui-han to the base, but only to plan his own escape. Yi Shui-han agrees to help him, but insists the officers are coming with them. He recalls Wu Liang's warning. He can't leave them as bait for the Stargazers. They march their captives through the station, drawing confused stares. Yi Shui-han calmly explains it's official rejects business. A likely story. Ying Yu-huan flashes a VIP card, stunning the station staff. He demands first-class treatment for their low-profile mission, An entire line of staff snaps to attention, ready to serve. Their faces are shadowed, a silent army at his command. The boys are given a full honor guard send-off. Ying Yuhuan soaks it in, the very picture of a low-profile agent. Later, in the train's bathroom, the situation is finally explained. The captured officer is furious, having endured a very long lecture. Elsewhere, a Stargazer member grovels, explaining he was just a guard. But Senchu's doll accuses him of being a traitor. Back on the train, the mood is considerably brighter. Ying Yuhuan is ordered a feast for his new friends. He laments that this whole ordeal interrupted his pilot lessons in Hawaii. The captured officers can only marvel at his casual display of wealth. Yi Shui-han cuts through the nonsense, asking how he awakened his powers. Apparently, he bit a star beast core thinking it was a gem. A classic rich kid mistake. This gives Yi Shui-han an idea about the nature of star beast cores. The officers, seeing an opportunity, try to strike a deal to settle their grudge. Yi Shui-han listens intently to their strange proposition. The officers eagerly ask to be hypnotized again. Some people have weird hobbies, but Ying Yuhuan refuses, tossing the two men aside in disgust. Yi Shui-han stands over them, knife in hand, a plan forming. He cuts them free, intending to use them before turning them in. Ying Yuhuan notes that his new friend has gotten a lot darker, but their scheming is cut short by a sudden flash of danger. He tackles Ying Yuhuan to the floor as the window shatters. Outside, their high-speed train is rocked by a violent impact. The train grinds to a screeching halt, shrouded in smoke. The other passengers scream in terror as the train car is torn apart. On the floor, Ying Yuhuan wonders if this is a terrorist attack. Yi Shui-han is thrown to the ground, blood dripping from a fresh wound. The captured officer rushes to his side, asking if he's seriously hurt. Yi Shui-han shouts back that he's fine, worried about the officers instead. Ying Yuhuan flashes a grin, declaring it's their duty to protect the newcomers. A new voice announces his arrival, Orion Senju of the Stargazer Society. He issues an ultimatum: evacuate the train or he'll attack every 10 seconds. The name sends a chill down their spines. The Stargazers are here. The officer explains their enemies are fused with B-class beasts, and their signal is jammed. Yi Shui-han takes command, ordering them to blend in and observe. The passengers descend into chaos, screaming about the terrorists. The officer orders his men to focus on escape, not a direct fight. They join the panicked crowd, moving deeper into the train car. Amidst the chaos, a girl in a cat hoodie drops her strange hand puppet. A hand reaches down to retrieve the fallen devil horn toy. A kind stranger returns it, urging her to focus on her own safety. She offers a quiet word of thanks as he looks ahead. But her grateful expression twists into a predatory, sinister grin. She thinks he's a very good person. Meanwhile, Yi Shui-han explains they'd only be a burden against a B-class foe. The Stargazer unleashes a powerful blast from his gauntlet. His attacks tear through the train car, sending passengers flying. Yi Shui-han realizes they're hunting for the rejects team. The panicked crowd is pinned against the walls of the train. The villain herds the civilians, telling them there's no escape. Amidst the chaos, the girl in the cat hoodie is knocked down. The Stargazer grabs her, using her as a pawn in his twisted game. Yi Shui-han recognizes her, debating if they should blow their cover. The villain forms a blade of pure energy, ready to make an example of her. But the officer, Tianqi, steps in, blocking the fatal blow with his own power. Yi Shui-han changes the plan, telling Ying Yuhuan to find an escape route. And from the crowd, the girl in the cat hoodie watches with a sinister glee. The Stargazer scoffs at the officer's futile resistance. But Tianqi leaps into action, his blade flashing through the air. He lands a clean strike, cutting deep into the villain's arm. The officer's face fills with relief, thinking he's actually succeeded. But a brutal counterblow sends him reeling in agony. He's sent flying, his body twisting from the sheer force of the impact. The Stargazer reveals his arm is fine, the scream was just for show. An actor, this one. He grabs the defeated officer, laughing at his failed attack. The villain reveals his arm is made of iron, unaffected by the blade. His arm morphs into a dark tendril, ensnaring the helpless officer. Tianqi struggles, trying to summon his mud puppet to break free. But the Stargazer unleashes a devastating attack of his own. Seeing his leader in peril, another officer resolves to fight back. He moves in a blur of motion, his blade glowing with power. The Stargazer is stunned as the officer appears right behind him. From his hiding spot, Yi Shui-han can't believe what he's seeing. He notices the other officers are still bound, completely unresponsive to the fight. The brave officer rushes to Tianqi's side, who asks about the girl's safety. The officer checks on the girl, asking if she's been hurt anywhere, but her only response is a disappointed, almost theatrical sigh. A wave of shock ripples through the onlookers as they realize the trap. The brave officer suddenly convulses, his body racked with internal pain. The girl pats his head, praising his performance with a terrifying grin. She reveals her power, turning the iron in his blood into deadly weapons. Yi Shui-han realizes the horrifying truth. She's been controlling the other officers all along. She mocks their futile efforts, finding it hilarious they protected her with her own puppets. Removing her hood, she reveals her true form, reveling in the chaos she's created. Tianqi can only watch in horror, cursing as his subordinate collapses. Tianqi clenches his fist, his body racked with agony. Senshu mocks his defiance, asking what he can do now. He's completely bound, the dark tendrils digging into his flesh. She offers him a choice, beg for his life or betray his team. But even in agony, he roars his loyalty to the Star Alliance. His defiance only earns him another wave of excruciating pain. She finds his suffering absolutely delightful. This girl needs a hobby. With a sadistic grin, she prepares to end his resistance for good, but a hand suddenly grips a nearby pipe, ready to strike. The Stargazer turns, surprised by the sudden interruption. It's Yi Shui-han, grabbing her weapon and stopping the attack cold. He can't even sense her power level, realizing she's at least a B-rank threat. She gets uncomfortably close, offering him a show as a reward for his kindness. But Yi Shui-han plays along, asking if she's really just here for a simple slaughter. He suggests a much darker plan, turn him into a star beast to kill his own family. Intrigued, she orders her men to feed the captured officers to a star beast core. But his knowledge makes her suspicious, questioning if he's one of the rejects. He puts on an act, claiming to be one of Murosugu's men, sent to interrogate them. He recalls intel from his past life, name-dropping a rival Stargazer officer. His bluff hits a nerve, but she demands proof, refusing to believe he's not lying. He whispers specific details about her rival, a perfect blend of intel and pure fabrication. She buys it, telling him to take the prisoners into the woods for their interrogation. But a clumsy footstep on a loose rock shatters the fragile truce. Senshu whips around, her eyes blazing as she demands to know who's hiding. A projectile flies past her head, a desperate attempt at a distraction. Yi Shui-han is stunned, realizing his ally didn't run for help after all. Instead, Ying Yu Huan emerges, trying to flirt his way out of a B-rank beatdown. The villainess simply stares, intrigued by this strange new development. She offers to make him her henchman, promising to turn him into a beautiful iron monster. Yi Shui-han steps in, explaining his little brother just has a weakness for pretty girls. He drags his new brother away, promising the Stargazer they'll talk later. Senshu decides to let them go, curious to see what her rival is planning. She laments his loyalty to another, but delights in the thought of her future iron puppets. Deeper in the woods, Yi Shui-han desperately tries to silence his noisy companion. He confirms Ying Yu Huan's fears. They are indeed being followed. With a sharp gesture, he signals for absolute silence and caution. Ying Yu Huan gives a mock salute, finally getting the message. Mostly, their pursuer is left completely baffled, wondering where his targets have vanished. Meanwhile, the captured officers face a much darker interrogation. They can only watch in horror as their comrade is force-fed a Star Beast core. Yi Shui-han approaches the guards, claiming he has permission to interrogate the prisoners. He gestures to his brother in the shadows, oozing false confidence. The lead pursuer confirms Yi Shui-han's cover story to his subordinate. She apparently ordered them to cooperate with the boy's questions. He then adds a condition, insisting on a private interrogation. He lures them closer, promising to share a valuable secret. As they lean in, his friendly facade drops, revealing a demonic grin. With a vicious crack, he introduces their faces to each other. The two goons cry out, caught completely in his psychic trap. The illusion shatters, revealing Ying Yu Huan's unimpressed face. Yi Shui-han calmly explains his hypnotic powers, offering another demonstration. He urges them to run before their ruse is discovered by the Stargazer. But a single deliberate footstep signals their time has already run out. Senshu's puppet voices her suspicions. His kindness was too good to be true. Convinced she's been played, she decides to investigate the deception herself. She stands over the unconscious guard, confirming he was thoroughly duped. She sniffs the air, catching the scent of blood and knowing they're close. As Ying Yu Huan complains about the lack of backup, Yi Shui-han senses the imminent threat. A chilling voice cuts through the trees, asking if they were waiting for her. She appears above them, declaring there's a price for deceiving a star beast. She lifts a massive cube, promising to turn them all into mush. Yi Shui-han tries to push the captured officers to safety, taking charge, but Ying Yu Huan steps forward, offering to be the distraction. Senshu is amused, asking if he really wants to play the hero. She sends the cube flying, a block of pure destructive energy. But she knows a true warrior of the Star League won't die so easily. The cube shatters harmlessly, the attack just a test of their nerve. Her grin widens. She knew they were hiding their true strength. With their cover blown, Yi Shui-han lunges forward, sword drawn. Ying Yuhuan can only watch, calling out to his friend in concern. She's impressed, admitting his power is far greater than she anticipated. But with her men dead, she declares she can't let them go unpunished. Her playful demeanor vanishes, replaced by a cold, murderous intent. Ying Yuhuan immediately panics, begging for his life. So much for the hero act. She dismisses him as a useless loser, deciding to eliminate him first. Yi Shui-han screams, refusing to let his new ally be killed. He lunges forward, desperately trying to stop the execution. Senju turns her attention to him, promising that he'll be next. A brutal kick to the chest stops his desperate charge cold. With a sadistic grin, she promises to make his end a slow one. Her hand rests on his chest, a final mocking touch. But her confident smirk falters, replaced by pure disbelief. A cartoonish rock monster appears, and she screams that it's an illusion. She rages, furious that he would dare use such a trick against her. In her confusion, she realizes her precious hand puppet is missing. Her eyes lock onto something in the distance, her focus returning. 2 helicopters hover overhead, a figure already climbing to safety. It's Yi Shui-han, offering a final taunt from the safety of the ladder. Enraged by the deception, she unleashes a storm of dark energy. The deadly projectiles race toward him, threatening to cut his escape short. But her rage is cut short as she senses another presence nearby. A powerful blast of wind intercepts her attack, sending her reeling. She grits her teeth in fury, stunned by this new powerful psychic. From the helicopter, a white-haired soldier unleashes a flurry of wind blades. He looks down on the villain, casually remarking on her ugliness. A massive vortex of wind engulfs her, a final overwhelming attack. Aboard the helicopter, the soldier laments that she managed to escape. Ying Yuhuan questions his priorities, but the soldier insists on healing the wounded first. He gets flustered, claiming the attack that shredded her clothes was an accident. Sure it was. A rescued officer reveals this is Captain Wu Liang, a man with a very unique reputation. Ying Yuhuan is furious, vowing to make Senju pay for the humiliation. He then reveals he stole her creepy hand puppet, much to Yi Shui-han's horror. Yi Shui-han calls him an idiot, realizing this petty theft will only make her angrier. Back in the woods, Senju discovers her men are down and her puppet is missing. But her fury truly ignites when she realizes the Star Beast cores are gone too. With a sadistic laugh, she promises that next time, there will be no escape. Aboard the helicopter, Yi Shui-han looks like he's about to lose his lunch. But it's all an act. He's secretly celebrating his successful heist of the cores. A true professional. Suddenly, a shadowy figure with glowing eyes appears, demanding he give it the bag. It's just Captain Wu Liang, who calmly suggests our boy hand over the stolen goods. Yi Shui-han tries to play it off, claiming it's all a big misunderstanding. But Ying Yuhuan is furious, questioning when he even had time for a heist. Their argument is cut short by a warning from the exasperated pilot. They finally arrive at their destination, the 7th base of the Star Alliance. But Ying Yuhuan is confused. This looks more like an empty parking lot. Wu Liang simply waves them off, saying this is as far as he's taking them. And just like that, the captain abandons them to find their own way to the base. On the bus, Ying Yuhuan complains about their unreliable new captain. A classic first impression. Their conversation is interrupted by another psychic who saw them arrive. Ying Yuhuan immediately tries to make friends by flashing his family's credit card. The other psychic is immediately impressed, but Yi Shui-han just scoffs at the old-fashioned display of wealth. But a long-haired student dismisses him as a weakling who bought his way in. Ying Yuhuan's new friend tells him to ignore the haters, but the tension is already building. Suddenly, the driver screams in terror as the bus veers directly toward a cliff. The bus launches into the air as a voice screams for everyone to use their powers. Welcome to orientation. Inside, the new recruits descend into pure panic, their first day already their last. But a powerful energy-infused kick shatters the emergency exit. A ponytailed student takes charge, kicking his classmates out to save them, a very aggressive form of help. Outside, the gifted students take to the skies, leaving the bus to its fate. But for those without flight or courage, there is no escape from the fall. Inside, a powerless student can only scream in absolute terror. But suddenly, the bus stops, held in place by the ponytailed student's raw power. The other boy is impressed, but the hero yells at him to stop gawking and help. He tells them to grab the parachutes as he helps the others climb out. The long-haired student makes his own escape, watching the chaos unfold. His expression is cold and calculating, a stark contrast to the panic. He spots uniformed figures on the cliff, realizing this is all just a brutal test. As the flying students abandon the bus, he resolves not to be outdone. He pulls the last student to safety, his bandaged hand a sign of his effort. With everyone clear, he finally lets the bus go, sending it into the abyss. But the long-haired student has a plan, creating a massive ice slide for the bus. He offers it as an escape route for anyone still on the mountain. He smirks, confident this will earn him some major bonus points. But his plan hits a snag as two students are right in the bus's path. The ponytailed student realizes they're about to be hit on the slippery ice. He unleashes a powerful energy blast, aiming for the bus's wheels. Together, he and another student manage to stop the bus just in time. The long-haired student is annoyed, claiming they were making a mess. He calls them all ungrateful losers for not appreciating his genius plan. Someone's a little sensitive. A new voice cuts in, welcoming them to the base as their new instructor. She explains their near-death experience was just a simple performance evaluation. The other boys are immediately smitten, their priorities clearly in order. She explains that passing the test earns a single star, the first step toward the high combat team. She singles out Yi Shui-han, praising his quick thinking and awarding him the first star. With the evaluation over, she dismisses the recruits to their dorms until the pep rally, but the long-haired student isn't satisfied, calling out that the decision was unfair. He argues that the test was about showing off, and his ice slide was the superior strategy. He points an accusing finger at Yi Shui-han, demanding to know why he was chosen. The ponytailed student steps in, telling the sore loser to back down. But the instructor clarifies that a willingness to sacrifice is more valuable than showing off. The long-haired student backs down, vowing to settle the score with Yi Shui-han later. Later, Yi Shui-han and Ying Yu-hwan settle into their new dorm room. Ying Yu-hwan immediately starts teasing him about the beautiful instructor, but his teasing hits a nerve when he mentions Yi Shui-han's sister. Yi Shui-han looks at a family photo, vowing to see Yi Chu soon. Their quiet moment is interrupted by their new roommate, the ponytailed student. Ying Yu-hwan's solution to the housing dispute is, of course, to throw money at it. The ponytailed student happily accepts the bribe, leaving our boy to judge his new friend's spending habits. With the room finally settled, Yi Shui-han reminds him of the upcoming pep rally. The two new recruits make their way toward the base's main auditorium. The base director kicks off the pep rally with a rousing speech about their destiny. But for Yi Shui-han, who's seen it all before, it's just a glorified nap time. His boredom is interrupted by a very loud, very hungry stomach growl. Luckily, Ying Yu-hwan came prepared with a full-course meal, because of course he did. He smugly explains that with enough cash, anything is possible. But their snack time is cut short by a sudden violent scene on screen. The recruits watch in horror as a star beast tears through a military assault. A new instructor roars at them to shut up and pay attention. Meet Sun Namu, a B-class warrior here to teach them about fear. But Ying Yu-hwan just scoffs, unimpressed by the rookie's panic. On screen, the A-class star beast roars, a vision of pure destruction. A classmate notes its city-destroying power, mistaking Yi Shui-han's focus for fear. But our boy is just thinking about how powerful its star beast core must be. Suddenly, the aroma of their snack begins to fill the tense auditorium. The other recruits' terror is quickly replaced by the overwhelming smell of roast chicken. But their little picnic is cut short by the furious instructor, Sun Namu. In his surprise, Ying Yu-hwan gives the man an impromptu and very unwelcome shower. The instructor is absolutely livid, his lesson on fear completely forgotten. He then turns on Yi Shui-han, who tries to subtly dispose of the evidence. Fed up, Sun Namu issues a challenge: beat him in a fight or face his wrath. The other recruits whisper that Sun Namu is the base's top psychic. Ying Yu-hwan accepts the challenge, his eyes glowing with psychic energy. He lunges forward, attempting to trap the instructor in an illusion, but Sun Namu sees right through the trick, landing a brutal counterblow. Ying Yu-hwan is left defeated on the floor, his confidence shattered. The other instructors note his D-level power is weak but strategically useful. They confirm Wu Liang's report, acknowledging the boy's recent accomplishments. Sun Namu now turns to Yi Shui-han, mocking his apparent fear. He offers a free shot, promising not to retaliate. A classic trap, but a sudden blast of energy erupts, catching him completely off guard. Yi Shui-han's fist flies forward, catching the instructor completely by surprise. Later in the canteen, his reputation has already begun to spread. The other students can't believe a power type earned the first star, but Yi Shui-han is lost in thought, analyzing the hierarchy of psychic abilities. Their meal is violently interrupted by a familiar, unwelcome face. It's the long-haired student, and he's here specifically for Yi Shui-han. Yingyu Huan steps up, ready to defend his new friend's lunch break. The student issues a challenge, furious that a power type stole his glory. Yingyu Huan offers to solve this with cash, but Yi Shuihan has other plans. With a confident smirk, our boy asks what he intends to do about it. The rival lays out his terms: Yi Shuihan's star and a public apology. With the challenge accepted, both boys are confident of their victory. A crowd gathers, speculating on the outcome of the power-free duel. The rival continues his taunts, urging Yi Shuihan to surrender now. But Yi Shuihan is done with the talk, ready to let his fists do the talking. But the rival has a surprise, introducing a massive fighter to take his place. Seems he's outsourcing the hard part. He boasts that his champion is a martial arts master, guaranteeing his victory. Yingyu Huan calls him out for his cowardice, but the challenge stands. Unfazed, Yi Shuihan simply beckons his massive opponent forward. He plants his foot, the fight officially underway. The hired muscle leaps forward, unleashing a powerful kick. But Yi Shuihan's expression is one of pure, unadulterated boredom. A single, well-aimed counterattack ends the fight before it begins. The crowd is stunned, and his new friend notes his fighting style is a little unorthodox. The defeated fighter accuses him of playing dirty, but Yi Shuihan is unfazed. Furious, the sore loser breaks the rules, summoning his animal companions. Yi Shuihan calls out his opponent for cheating in a supposedly power-free duel. The rival screams for his summoned beasts to attack our boy, but our hero sees this as a perfect chance to test a new technique. He recalls the instructor's lesson, focusing his energy for a powerful counter. He unleashes a powerful lion's roar, a shockwave of pure sonic force. The summoned beasts are stunned, and he realizes the technique worked perfectly. The crowd erupts, stunned he used a B-rank move without any psychic powers. His rival can't believe he lost, turning to flee in humiliation. But Yi Shuihan isn't about to let him get away that easily. He stops the sore loser, reminding him that a deal is a deal. Yingyu Huan joins in, eager to see the rival pay up for his arrogance. His demand is simple: a public declaration of his own superiority. The rival, of course, refuses, so he offers an alternative: 5 precious Starbeast cores as payment. But Yi Shuihan knew he'd refuse. This was all just a setup. Yi Shuihan calmly reminds his rival of the consequences of picking a fight, but their argument is cut short by a furious shout from their instructor. She declares they've broken the rules and are all headed for confinement. The sore loser desperately tries to talk his way out of it, blaming Yi Shuihan. He even tries to pull the family card, boasting of his connection to her clan. But she's completely unimpressed, telling him to honor the bet and get moving. Defeated, the rival reluctantly pulls out the bag of Starbeast cores. He tosses them over with a final empty threat about Yi Shuihan's future. Now in confinement, Yi Shuihan recalls the instructor's powerful family from his past life. But for now, he's content to admire his hard-won prize. He decides to use his time in confinement to absorb the cores and grow stronger. He confirms he can absorb the energy directly, a torrent of power flowing into him. But his private training session is interrupted by the furious instructor. She's horrified, asking if he's crazy enough to absorb the raw beast energy. She grabs him, desperately trying to shake some sense into the reckless boy. She warns him that absorbing a core like this is a death sentence, but he insists he feels fine, completely unaware of the danger he's in. She's relieved he's okay, recalling how he almost turned into a beast last time. She warns him to be careful, but he has a much more pressing request. The instructor finally realizes their very unprofessional, very awkward position. He asks if she's here because she's worried about him. She insists it's about protecting his potential, not a personal fight. He teases her about her special way of showing concern. She wonders why she's so invested, as he promises not to disappoint. Flustered, she declares his 3-day confinement and makes a hasty exit. 3 days later, his time in isolation finally comes to an end. The door slides open, and he's officially a free man once again. A new face appears, introducing himself as the head of the apparatus room. Seems friendly enough, but there's a strange, unsettling intensity in the man's eyes. The two men stare, a flicker of shocked recognition passing between them. But Yi Shuihan dismisses him, leaving the man fuming at his casual disrespect. He grabs our boy, offering him the one thing he's always wanted: psychic powers. Later that night, the base settles into an uneasy silence. In their dorm, a glowing butterfly flutters through the darkness. It lands on another student who begins to cry in his sleep. He's lost in a dream, proposing to the girl he loves. A bold move, even for a dream. He reaches out in his sleep, asking if she really said yes. But the butterfly has already moved on, its next target now chosen. Yi Shui-han is suddenly ripped from his sleep into a ruined city. He looks around in shock, realizing this is no ordinary nightmare. He finds himself surrounded by the bodies of his fallen comrades. His mind reels as he questions how they could all be dead. But a familiar voice cuts through the horror. It's his sister, Yi Chu. Overjoyed, he reaches for her, promising to take her home. But the nightmare twists, and a fatal wound appears on her chest. He screams her name, forced to relive his greatest failure. She cries out in agony, saying the dead can't just come back. Yi Shui-han is frozen, trapped in this cruel psychic illusion. He holds her close, declaring they must die for their sins. A shadowy figure watches from afar, intrigued by our boy's despair. The Dreamweaver notes our boy's mind is already broken, but he suddenly senses a power he did not expect. A surge of raw power erupts from within Yi Shui-han's core. He calls upon the S-ranked beast living inside him. The beast unleashes a furious roar, rejecting the psychic intrusion. The psychic backlash sends the Dreamweaver reeling in shock. Back in the real world, the psychic's hideout is revealed. He coughs up blood, the mental assault taking a physical toll. He can't comprehend how a mere boy has an S-ranked beast's aura. But his fear turns to a grin as a subordinate reports their plan is ready. He eagerly awaits tomorrow's test, wondering what surprises Yi Shui-han has in store. The next morning, Ying Yuhuan wakes up with a headache, unable to recall his dreams. He, however, remembers a pleasant dream about beef soup. Must be nice. But Yi Shui-han's hand suddenly grabs him by the collar. He reminds his friend about the system test, but Ying Yuhuan dismisses it as pointless. Out on the training grounds, the Dreamweaver nervously holds a set of strange devices. The instructor explains the test. Fight star beasts, and the device will reveal their power type. The Dreamweaver hesitates for a moment as he hands out the devices. A flicker of doubt crosses his face, questioning his own actions. He snaps at Yi Shui-han for being distracted, but Ying Yuhuan mocks his high-status background. The Dreamweaver's face twists in pure rage, recognizing our boy. He furiously throws the devices at them, refusing all responsibility. But he remembers his orders, confident this test will awaken his own powers. The recruits enter the test site, completely unaware they're being watched. A three-eyed star beast lunges from the rocks, its first target chosen. But a powerful stomp signals the arrival of an unexpected hero. The ponytailed student intercepts the beast with a single brutal punch. The creature is sent flying, the immediate threat now neutralized. Yi Shui-han knows the instructors are watching through his bracelet. He clenches his fist, determined to seize this first real opportunity. His performance has already earned him a few admirers among the recruits. But the test isn't over, as a new pack of beasts emerges from the woods. They're sent flying by a powerful blast of ice and wind. The long-haired rival steps in, scolding the others for their inaction. He scoffs at mere power types, confident in his own superior abilities. Meanwhile, back in the base's monitoring room, the instructors are watching every move the new recruits make. Their focus is locked on the two most promising and problematic students. Sun Namu is impressed, ordering all low-level beasts released to raise the stakes. But back on the ground, the Dreamweaver asks Yi Shui-han for help. The Dreamweaver realizes his 5-second illusions are useless here. His worst fears are realized as two beasts lunge for the kill. But Yi Shui-han and the ponytailed student pull him from danger's path. The long-haired rival simply tells them to open their eyes. The entire group is now completely surrounded by the hungry pack. Yi Shui-han notes they're not just a mob, they're organized. He spots their leader, a lone beast coordinating the attack from above. Without a word, he snatches the sword from his new roommate. A confident grin spreads across his face as he asks to borrow it. A very polite mugging. The Dreamweaver can only watch as the power type charges into the fray. He plants his foot, launching himself directly into the air. Using a beast's head as a springboard, he soars toward his target. He channels his energy, the borrowed blade glowing with immense power. With a single decisive motion, he unleashes a devastating air slash. The long-haired rival can only stare in disbelief from the ground below. He realizes the power type just used a high-level control skill. Meanwhile, back in the base's monitoring room, the device confirms the impossible. Yi Shui-han has two active power types. The instructors are floored, questioning if a dual-power psychic has ever existed. But the female instructor just smiles, realizing he's the biggest asset they've ever found. His rivals demand answers, but Yi Shui-han is focused on a new problem. He questions how such low-level beasts could use coordinated tactics. Suddenly, a massive shadow falls over him from behind. His eyes widen in horror as he realizes the test just got a lot harder. A three-headed Class C star beast emerges, a true alpha predator. He understands now. this is the creature that's been directing the attack. He plants his feet ready to face a threat far beyond his level. Ying Yu Huan calls out, finally realizing the gravity of their situation. Yi Shui Han warns him, this is a sea-level threat, and tries to call for help. But the beast is done waiting, unleashing a massive energy blast. The recruits descend into chaos, screaming for their lives. The beast's massive claw descends, ready to crush them all. But the ponytailed student leaps forward, refusing to back down. He meets the creature's attack head-on, steel against claw. The long-haired rival joins in, launching his own attack from a safe distance. But the sheer force of the beast is too much for the borrowed sword. The student can only stare in shock at his shattered weapon. Unfazed, the three-headed beast prepares to finish the fight. It raises its paw, ready to crush the now defenseless boy. Yi Shui Han screams a desperate warning for his roommate to move. The long-haired rival finally steps up, generating a sphere of pure ice. He unleashes a powerful deep freeze, encasing the beast in ice. The creature is trapped, its three heads frozen in a silent roar. He lets out a breath of relief, admitting that was a close call. Yi Shui Han proposes a truce, knowing they must fight together to survive. The Dreamweaver runs for cover, promising he can fix the broken bracelet. But the ice begins to shatter, and Yi Shui Han urges him to hurry. The beast breaks free, unleashing a devastating blast of pure energy. Thinking fast, Yi Shui Han shouts a plan to his temporary ally. The rival complains but complies, forming a massive ice shield to block the attack. The beast's fiery breath slams into the shield, threatening to melt it away. As the beast charges another attack, the rival admits he's nearly out of power. Completely drained, he realizes his only option now is to run for his life. But the ponytailed student leaps in, covering for his exhausted teammate. He brings his weapon down with a powerful, determined battle cry. The blow connects, but the C-class beast's hide is far too tough. Gritting his teeth, he pours every last ounce of strength into the attack. With a furious roar, he forces the blade deeper into the creature's skull. His relentless assault pays off, incapacitating two of the beast's three heads. With the immediate threat handled, he kicks away to create some distance. The beast's counterattack sends him skipping across the ground like a stone. He collapses into the dirt, his body battered and bruised from the impact. Even after giving his all, he knows his best effort still wasn't enough. Yi Shui Han screams for his ally to hold the line and protect the others. But he turns to see their ice-wielding rival has already fled. So much for that truce. The ponytailed student rises again, defiantly challenging the beast to finish it. A new wolf-like creature lunges, its red eyes fixed on its defiant prey. But a golden arm intercepts the attack, saving him at the very last second. Yi Shui Han is stunned to see their savior is the cowardly Dreamweaver, Long Fake Eye. He reveals a star beast core, the source of his sudden and very convenient courage. Yi Shui Han is stunned, wondering how the cowardly boy got a star beast core. The ponytailed student explains his plan to use the core as a lure. But a swarm of glowing butterflies suddenly fills the air around them. Long Fake Eye collapses in agony, caught in a powerful psychic assault. The ponytailed student realizes he's trying to speak but can't. To their horror, Long Fake Eye begins to swallow the raw core. The ponytailed student lunges, trying to stop him at the last second. But the core's power is already overwhelming him in a wave of pure agony. Yi Shui Han realizes he's being controlled, demanding to know by who. The boy's face begins to mutate as he screams that he only wanted power. Dark energy erupts as the ponytailed student screams that he's been astralized. With his last shred of humanity, Long Fake Eye cries out a warning about the base. Yi Shui Han demands to know who's controlling him, but his words are lost. The transformation completes, twisting the boy into a horned, fanged monster. The ponytailed student can only watch in horror as his classmate becomes a beast. The C-class beast returns, immediately attacking the newly transformed boy. Problem solved? Yi Shui Han realizes the beast was drawn by the energy, mistaking the new monster for a human. The three-headed beast unleashes a powerful blast, aiming to end the fight. The ponytailed student pours all his energy into a desperate, last-ditch defense. Knowing they're outmatched, he makes a break for it, determined to find help. Amidst the chaos, Long Fake Eye proudly announces he's fixed his bracelet. But his celebration is cut short as a glowing butterfly lands on his head. He panics as his own hand moves against his will, grabbing his throat. The other students are also turned into puppets, their weapons aimed at themselves. Long Fake Eye can only watch in terror, a prisoner in his own body. Suddenly, a sword flies through the air, aimed to disarm the controlled students. The ponytailed student arrives, using his power to break the psychic hold. The others cry out as they're freed from the invisible strings. Guess puppet shows are off the table for a while. He rushes to comfort Long Feikai, who is still reeling from the attack. The long-haired rival realizes they were all being manipulated by an unseen enemy. Yi Shui-han concludes there's a traitor working from inside the base. The other students are stunned, thanking him for saving their lives. Long Feikai announces that he's finally sent a distress signal. The others are overjoyed, believing reinforcements are on the way. But Yi Shui-han knows the tampered bracelet means this is a trap. He realizes the traitor is likely in the control room, listening in. He speaks into his device, hoping to bait the enemy into a response. But their problems just got bigger. The three-headed beast has evolved. Well, that's just fantastic. Yi Shui-han realizes it absorbed its other heads to heal and power up. With no other choice, he rallies the others for one final desperate attack. He admits they're all at their limit, but failure is not an option. The evolved star beast lets out a furious, deafening roar, but its attack is blocked by a massive scythe of golden energy. The instructor Wei Chi arrives, recognizing her own weapon. Yi Shui-han collapses in relief, his energy completely spent. With reinforcements here, the recruits finally feel safe. He explains how Long Feikai was controlled by a strange butterfly. Wei Chi realizes the danger and immediately sprints into action. She confronts the traitor, Moroju, a cadre of the Stargazers. But Yi Shui-han sweeps her off her feet because this is clearly the time for a dramatic rescue. She screams at him to put her down, but he's already on the move. He carries her directly to the base's high-security storage room. He explains the attack was a diversion to steal the base's cores, and just as he predicted, the door is already wide open. Inside, they find an unexpected culprit. The base's head chef, Chef Wang, reveals himself as the traitor, mocking their failed pawn. Wei Chi demands to know why a 10-year veteran would betray them. He just laughs, threatening to swallow a core and become a monster. A truly original villain plan, but Yi Shui-han moves first, landing a brutal punch to the jaw. He stands over the chef, vowing to never let that happen again. In the base meeting room, Yi Shui-han recounts the entire ordeal, but an instructor named Guo Yiming has a pointed question for our boy. He asks if he's a suspect, stating everyone would be dead if he were a traitor. The instructors debate, noting that power types are immune to mental attacks. The base commander reveals this was a coordinated attack on all their facilities. He praises Yi Shui-han for his quick thinking, dismissing him with high honors. But our boy knows the story doesn't add up. The motive is far too weak. His thoughts are cut short by a panicked friend with terrible news about his sister. He grabs the man, demanding to know what's happened to Yi Chu. His friend explains her treatment requires more cores than they can provide. He turns back, his resolve hardening as he promises to find a way. Without a second thought, he bursts back into the meeting room. But instructor Guo Yiming scolds him for his lack of discipline. Yi Shui-han demands the reward he was promised, Star Beast cores for his sister. The instructor furiously denies his request, dismissing his personal problems. Our boy calls them heartless, but the instructor just accuses him of breaking the rules. The instructor Wei Chi watches, caught in the middle of the confrontation. She steps in to de-escalate, pulling Yi Shui-han from the room, a very necessary HR intervention. She assures him she has a solution, but he's not so easily convinced. The commander silences the other instructor, ordering a full base investigation. She makes a call, offering to cover his sister's treatment with her own share of cores. Yi Shui-han is stunned by her generosity, his resolve to save Yi Chu hardening. She assures him his sister will be fine, and he immediately asks when he can see her. She hands him a hospital pass, telling him he can visit in 3 days. Overjoyed, he grabs her hands in gratitude, much to her flustered surprise. She explains that her help isn't without a few strings attached. The commander had warned her of his rare talent, tasking her with keeping him in line. And her condition is simple. She wants Yi Shui-han to be her personal assistant. He agrees instantly, seeing it as a small price for his sister's life. A little too eager, perhaps. He immediately gets down to business, asking about salary, benefits, and of course more cores. A new face appears, scolding Yi Shui-han for his ruthless business tactics. He then turns on Wei Chi, questioning her loyalty to the new assistant. Yi Shui-han slaps him back, accusing him of being jealous of his sister's care. Wei Chi cuts in, reminding them to be grateful they survived the attack. But Yi Shui-han knows there's more to it, questioning the traitor's true motive. She explains a legend about high-level cores granting unique, powerful skills. With the base's high-level cores gone, she decides it's time to arm her new assistant. As his new friend leaves, Yi Shui-han wonders about the powers he's already absorbed. He resolves to keep his secret safe, knowing the Stargazers would hunt him for it. Elsewhere, instructor Guo Yiming rages, his plans completely ruined by our boy. A glowing butterfly appears, a psychic message for the corrupt instructor. He panics, recognizing the Stargazer psychic, Morosu, in his office. Guo Yiming rages, his plans ruined by the failed raid and the new investigation. But Morosu is only disappointed that the high-level cores are gone. He reveals he's just a phantom, claiming to have been recently injured. But his true goal is revealed. He wants to know everything about Yi Shui-han. Meanwhile, Wager takes her new assistant to the base armory. A guard tries to stop them, insisting it's against the rules for newcomers. But his superior smacks him down, recognizing Yi Shui-han's rising fame. The older guard explains that arming a future hero will bring glory to their base. But from the shadows, his jealous rival watches, furious at the special treatment. Weiji explains that every weapon here is forged from star beast materials. She details how a blade made from a beast's tooth can pierce any hide. She introduces the 3 tiers of weaponry: basic, advanced, and divine. While basic materials are common, higher-level materials are surprisingly more abundant. The divine weapons, she explains, are crafted from the rarest of all materials. He asks how to get one, and she tells him there are only 12 in the world. Simple, just go kill an A-class beast. With a smile, she tells him to go ahead and choose his new gear. But Yi Shui-han's eyes are already set on the highest prize. His expression hardens, his ambition now crystal clear. His eyes fall on a single ominous blade, radiating a dark and corrupting energy. The sword's reflection fills his eye, a strange mix of confusion and fascination. He reaches out, his mind now set on this one powerful weapon. But a hand on his shoulder suddenly snaps him out of his trance. Weiji asks if he's finally made a decision on his new gear. He points to the dark sword, declaring it's the only one he wants. But his jealous rival suddenly lunges forward to claim the prize for himself. His hand closes around the hilt, snatching the weapon from its display. He boasts that his family's wealth gives him the right to any weapon he desires. The guards scream in terror, warning that the blade is a cursed parasite that controls its wielder. Weiji furiously asks the guard why he didn't warn them sooner. The guard panics, claiming he just remembered the tiny detail about the cursed weapon. Real helpful. The rival struggles as the blade's dark energy begins to consume him. Its corrupting tendrils burrow deep into his arm, taking complete control. He screams in agony, blaming Yi Shui-han for his own terrible life choices. Now completely possessed, he lunges forward to kill our boy. But Yi Shui-han's eyes are calm, a plan already in motion. He pulls Weiji behind him, shielding her from the incoming attack. A very smooth move. The possessed rival flies past as they both hit the floor. Yi Shui-han rises, asking what's wrong with the now unconscious boy. But Yi Shui-han intercepts the attack, his simple blade clashing with the cursed sword. Weiji creates a barrier, ordering the terrified guards to stay behind her. He struggles to hold his ground against the overwhelming dark energy. The guards realize this is a divine weapon, a demon sword that has just found its new host. A powerful slash sends him reeling, the force of the blow too much to handle. He's sent skidding across the floor, barely deflecting the relentless assault. Even in danger, he's stunned by the sheer power of a divine-class weapon. But a plan forms, and he charges forward, ready to disarm his opponent. Weiji screams for him to stop, warning him not to fight the frenzied boy head-on. But the rival just laughs, completely consumed by the sword's power and vowing to kill him. But his basic sword shatters on impact, leaving him completely defenseless. He realizes in a flash that he's about to be cut down. But instead of retreating, he lunges forward with a desperate plan. He catches the cursed blade with his bare hands, stopping the attack cold. He struggles against the possessed boy, refusing to let the weapon go. Blood streams from his hands as he grips the blade, its dark energy swirling. Suddenly, the corrupting power recedes, pulling back into the rival's body. The boy's eyes clear, the sword's malevolent influence finally broken. The divine weapon clatters to the floor, its tantrum officially over. With the fight concluded, Yi Shui-han calmly kneels to claim his prize. He realizes the sword's dark power is recoiling from his blood. The advanced core he consumed has given him an unexpected advantage. A new dangerous thought forms. He can conquer this divine weapon. He grips the hilt, forcing his will upon the cursed blade. The sword fights back, its corrupting energy lashing out in a final struggle. With a furious roar, he demands the divine weapon submit to its new master.